News.
9.
James Hodgkinson, 28, a London paramedic from Islington, was killed by a single punch to the face in an unprovoked attack, after a day watching England cricketers take on India at Trent Bridge in Nottingham. He went on to several pubs near the ground in the evening and was about to leave one bar with his father, David, and brother, Philip, when Jacob Dunn hit him, knocking him over and causing him to strike his head on the pavement. He died 9 days later in hospital. James was talking to another lad, and Jacob just ran and hit James as hard as he possibly could in the face, and then ran off. James was just standing there and was obviously not prepared to defend himself because he had no reason to. He hit his head falling to the pavement. The force of the punch meant he was unconscious before he hit the pavement. Mr. Hodgkinson's mother, Joan, said, "James was very caring. He was our best friend. It was a careless punch that went terribly wrong. I think he definitely regrets what he did." Dunn served 13 months of a 30-month sentence after he admitted manslaughter 4 months later. A meeting between him and Mrs. Schofield, as well as Mr. Hodgkinson's father, was arranged. She said that at first she only felt anger and bitterness towards Jacob, but later accepted he had made a mistake. "5 years ago I just thought he was a thug and would not have wanted to have anything to do with him. Today I'm happy to sit next to him. I see him as a boy when he hit James, and as a man today. I think it shows a very strong character for him to come and meet me. He said he wants to say sorry and he knows sorry isn't enough." Mrs. Schofield is now raising money for the One Punch campaign, which highlights the terrible damage a single blow can inflict. Lee Devlin was killed by a 16-year-old boy after he started chatting to the teenager and his friends in Whitley Bay on September 12, 2014. A girl in the group asked the boys what they would do if Mr. Devlin, 40, who has mental health problems and was drunk, touched her. At that point some of the youngsters became abusive and Mr. Devlin realized he was not welcome and started to leave. However, the accused youth, who cannot be named for legal reasons, leapt from a garden wall and punched him with deadly ferocity. Mr. Devlin fell and struck his head on the ground, suffering fatal injuries. The next morning, unaware Mr. Devlin was dead, the 16-year-old was allegedly bragging to his sister about knocking out a 40-year-old man until he realized the victim was dead. Prosecutor Nick Dry said when the youth was arrested he said Mr. Devlin had been too friendly but now claims he was scared of him. Mr. Dry said, he told police Mr. Devlin was too friendly and he found it off-putting when he kept asking if they were all right and what they were doing. He admitted Mr. Devlin had not been violent or aggressive towards him, just over-friendly by trying to touch his shoulder with his hand. It's not suggested he intended to kill him. The sad reality is he did it for a laugh and in order to show off in front of his mates, playing the big man in front of his friends. The keen football fan, who supported Newcastle United and Whitley Bay, had been to visit his sister and consumed several drinks. He left her home in Howden, North Tyneside, around 9:20 p.m. and got on a metro to go home. On leaving the train station at Whitley Bay, he came across 2 teenagers outside Smithy's Deli, on Station Road. Mr. Devlin stood with them and the 15-year-olds found it awkward. They shouted for 4 other youths, including the defendant, to come across from the metro station nearby. The teenagers then ended up sitting on a garden wall nearby and Mr. Devlin was trying to join in their conversations. Mr. Dry said what had been an awkward situation turned nasty after a comment by a girl in the group. Some of the others, including the defendant, became abusive towards Mr. Devlin, calling him a nonce and a perv, trying to provoke a reaction. At the time of the attack a resident heard youths laughing and could see a man on the ground. Mr. Dry said the group left the scene quickly afterwards with Mr. Devlin bleeding on the ground. 2 passing youths found him almost immediately and called an ambulance but he was dead on arrival at hospital. Jason Hague, 45, died of severe brain damage in September 2019 after suffering a fractured skull and bleeding on the brain caused by Thomas Allen. Thomas, a 52-year-old, from Govan, punched the victim after the pair got into a rammy 20 minutes into playing pool together at Harley's Sky Bar in Main Street. Approaching Mr. Hague with a cue in hand, Alan hit him in the face after they had a disagreement, sending him crashing to the ground where he smacked his head of the hard floor. Mr. Hague was rushed to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital where he underwent surgery for a catastrophic brain injury. Tragically, he lost his fight for life just 8 days later on September 10. Alan left the bar 2 minutes after 2 men attended to his victim who was laying on the floor with blood pouring out his head. Police located Alan 2 days later in a bar in Hope Street, Glasgow. Pleading guilty to causing the death at the High Court in Glasgow, Alan was sentenced to 5 years in prison. The court heard that Alan has previous convictions for possession of an offensive weapon and assault. David Green, Procurator Fiscal for Homicide and Major Crime, said, "A single punch has had catastrophic consequences. This type of attack is just as lethal as an assault with a weapon, and any instance of a punch to the head can have the kind of ramifications that we have tragically seen with this case. The unintended consequences of Thomas Allen's actions should serve as a stark warning that a one punch can kill." The dad of two's death was the second tragedy to rock the family after his brother Jamie passed away just 6 months earlier. Speaking at the time of Jason's death, his sister Nikki MacDonald said the family had been inundated with messages of support. She said, "Just a few months ago in April my mum had 4 kids, now she's only got 2. It's been overwhelming. It is comforting to know so many people loved him. So many people have told me he was a gent. It's so sad, he was so caring. His life was his kids and family."
Ridiculous. They say justice, that's no justice. They'll do it before he knows it, and it's bloody terrible.
For those of us who didn't know Jason, just tell us what he was like.
To be honest with you, you couldn't, and I'm not just saying it because he's my man, you couldn't meet a nicer guy. That's all I can say, and we've most done, he's only getting 5 years.